Welcome guys to a brand new Smite video. Today we're doing a tier list. Now I am actually streaming this video live on Twitch, so I'm going to be responding to comments as I'm doing it. I'm excited to do this. We got the chat in here. Life is good. People are giving me recommendations for how to start this, but we're going to be using Weekend's website for this tier list. And yeah, we're going to kind of just get started right away. So I've got my tiers here really quick. We'll just kind of define our tiers. SS is the best gods in the game. You have these, you just win. S tier is what your dress should be. Prioritize picks bans generally as well. And these are kind of top of the line meta gods that are getting through because they're not quite SS tier. A plus is above the point of balance, very good, but not like amazing, amazing. A is your point of balance. B plus is good, but situational, not always good, a little bit below average. B is just pretty clearly below average, and C is unplayable, awful. So yeah, that is the tiers. We're going to get started. Achilles. Achilles has taken a slip. And by the way, I have my tier list here as a cross-reference that we're going to be using time to time maybe. Achilles before, it's a little scuffed, but Achilles before I had an A+. This got like all flipped up. I don't know how B+ got above. But Achilles is going to move down. He's going down to A tier. I'm not going to use it that often, but Achilles is going to go down to A tier. You can check out the tier list video from before if you want to see what went up and what went down. Achilles, though, falls down because his clear is just not really as good as these other characters. Sundering Axe has taken a fall, and as a result, mainly that was his main point of being valuable, his main point of play. Because of that, he's fallen a bit. He's about average, not the best, not the worst, very much okay. Agni is going to remain, I believe, in the S tier. Great, secure on objectives, very good burn, knockup immunities, very strong, super safe character. Has not fallen back at all in terms of meta, so remains a very staple and strong pick in the mid lane. Amuzen Cobb has fallen completely off the earth. Shifter shield and stuff should make him better, but he's just not very good. I think he's been bad for a while now. Doesn't really have a lot of value, and unfortunately is going to be in the B tier. Just you'd have to really kind of create a lot around him for him to be good, and with how prominent like mage mids are for the most part, aside from some picks, AMC's best role is mid and doesn't really have any value in that role. I also will be, if you guys have any questions for picks, let me know here and obviously in the comments. But because it's live, I can actually kind of do a bit of both. Op Watch is also bad. Doesn't have a lot going for him. 9.5 and stuff gives him more burst opportunity, but overall just more death opportunity. No CC immunal. Generally, non-CC immunal gods tend to suck unless they have a lot of makeup in their kit and in their ultimate to make them good. Agni is a great example of that. Opwatch is a great example of the other side. Definitely not a good pick. Amaterasu. So Ama's one of those gods that kind of borders to me on S and A+. For most people, I'm obviously a little biased for this character. I think that her build has fallen off a little bit just because shifters and Phoenix Shield and whatnot is very, very good right now. Her secure is really strong. I'll put her in A plus as a happy medium. But she's not the absolute best in terms of matchups and stuff. Phoenix Shield, Shifter Shield and stuff doesn't really fit on her too well. So because those items are so good in elevating a lot of characters, she's taking a little bit of a step down, but still very strong. On her has really kind of fallen off the face of the earth. I'm gonna put him in A tier. He was a very good pressure pick for the duo lane. This is not solo lane specifically. This is all around. Never do a solo lane specific thing and put Agni above Ama. Come on, Moods, you know better. Um, Being serious though, on her is really, dual lane pressure is very important, but solo side pressure has become slightly more important recently, and for whatever reason, on her has just kind of fallen off the face of the earth. He's gotten some nerfs now that we have like penetration builds and stuff more so than crit builds. We still see some crit builds. I don't know. He just kind of fell off. Not very good. Yeah, on her's pretty average. He's okay. Anubis is going to go in B+. He's got a little bit more value. Lifesteal builds with Sack Shroud and stuff are actually quite strong in the mid lane, so he's viable, but you need a comp around him. And he's pretty mediocre, to be honest. Like, he's better than AMC, he's better than Opwatch. You actually have value on this character that you can make work, but it's situational at best. And yeah, some builds can work on him, but generally kind of meh. Ao Kwang doesn't really, he does build lifesteal as well and whatnot, but this really just isn't the game for Ao Kwang right now. I'm going to put him in the B tier. Doesn't really do a lot. Junglers that can push the pace of the map are really, really valuable. Specifically, ability-based junglers, some auto attack junglers now that we'll get into, but Ao Kuang just doesn't do much early. The only value he kind of has on the map is that he's magical damage, and in the jungle that can be a bit of a novelty. But when you're not able to put pressure on the map and your late game scaling is strong but your range is limited, this character just doesn't have a lot of reasons to be picked. So Ao Kuang is going to be in B tier. Aphrodite is going to see a huge drop. I think she was an S or SS in our last tier list. She's going to be going all the way down to B+. Character is only good in support, and with 9.5 being reverted, basically every character becoming squishier, Aphrodite's frontline presence that she was able to have as a support has been completely negated. She's a very average character at best, but she's a little bit below that point of average realistically in practice. Not the most pressure as she used to have. Her fight in the dual lane and stuff is still good, but you really do kind of need some frontline presence. Um, Apollo. Let's see. Any comments here? You were hearing AMC was busted. You were being lied to. What's up, Akage? How are you, man? How are we all doing? Hope we're all doing good. Apollo. So Apollo is really cheesy and good in ranked. This is more of a competitive tier list that tends to be my approach, but I'm going to concede that he does have value in solo and an ADC, so that flex does make him a better character. Shifter shield and just the amount of tankiness you can have on this character with his mez already does make him better. Thank you, Bam Bran, for the follow. Nice to see you, buddy. So Apollo is better. I think I put him in A tier before. I think he's actually a better character than he used to be. We'll put him in A+, saw some buffs, but the mez with Shifter Shield just means you get a lot of protections really easily. Thank you also so much for the Prime sub, Bam. I really appreciate it, man. Apollo is a good character right now. Order, by the way, in the tiers does matter, but not too much. We'll see if we change it up a bit later, but yeah, not too crazy. Arachne is bad. Better than Ao Kuang, just because she can at least put early pressure on the map. But it's just really not her time. Stone cutting and stuff I think can be promising. Maybe she has some value in this game with some of the newer items. And we have a question in the chat that I think is really good. Do you think AA gods have suffered overall versus ability just because of like shifts in the meta? I think it kind of depends on the role. Generally speaking, some auto attack junglers have done better now, but they tend to be the tankier ones. I think these pure auto attack gods like Arachne do still struggle, and if not, potentially are worse now because you have tankier mids and ADCs with shifters and stuff. So it just kind of depends on the specific one. Some got better, some got worse. Ares is strictly a counter pick, but there's a lot of gods that Ares is very good into that are actually good right now. And so for that, I'm going to put him in A+. And I'll get into that more, but Ares is strictly generally considered a counter pick, but has great pressure in the 2v2 and duo, and has a very good rapport against some of the top picks in the game right now, which as a counter makes him shoot up to the moon. Conversely, gods that were good into him like Aphrodite tend to be way worse. So yeah. Let's see. Let's take a quick sip of a drink. Water, by the way, of course. Artemis. Artemis is weird. She's got great late game presence. Definitely is a great character when you're on the up and you're playing aggressive. When you're getting dove, not always great, but has good counter dive tools. I think she's average, just because like her lane spot is kind of weird. I think Artemis is actually quite strong, but she's much better in mid generally with like an ability based build, or should be much better in mid, but mages tend to be pretty valuable, and finding a spot for this character is kind of hard, but I don't actually think she's bad. I'm going to put her below these two, or I'm going to put her below, yeah, I'll put her below these two. I think she's kind of like Achilles. She's honestly not bad, and she's pretty average, and she's probably underplayed. I think her play and her amount of play probably sees her like a B plus or B tier, but I think she's much better than these other characters. Um, and you guys also want me to go into aggressive supports versus defensive supports and which are better? The answer is kind of situational, but we can address that when we get there. Ardio is going to be newly added to our S tier. Fantastic support pick for pressure. Fantastic solo pick for pressure as well. No CC immune ult, but that's kind of okay. This is partially why Ares we're seeing an uptick in. Very strong lanes. Vamshard is great on the scout. Conduit is also very good. The buffs to her heal and her scaling in general have just made her do a lot more damage, but also just heal a ton and be very, very difficult to lock down. Great pick, S tier for sure. Athena has seen one of the biggest falls in recent memory, and she's an initiating character, a pressure character that kind of just doesn't have a lot of say right now. It's very weird. I'm very shocked, but Athena's just not all that great anymore. It's weird. I don't know if it's because things like Lancelot and Camazot's untargetable junglers are much better, so as a result, her value of only really having a taunt is kind of mitigated, but Athena is just really not a great pick. You can play the character, but isn't much. What's up, Liz? How are you doing, man? But yeah, she's like okay. I mean, I don't think she's like a bad god, but her level of play and frequency of play, and quite frankly, poor play surrounding it, and every support I talk to talks to hates this character right now. Makes me feel like she should be A tier, but I'm gonna put her in B plus or even B. I'll put her in B plus though. Atlas doesn't see a lot of play. Fantastic objective, shreds support, pretty good pressure, knockback immunities. Doesn't have a CC immune ult. That doesn't mean, of course, he's bad, as two of our S tiers are no CC immune ults. I'm going to put him in a solid A tier. I think he's good, but not great. Burn comps aren't that popular right now. They can work, and Atlas is definitely fine, but when you have characters like Artio and Ares who are very good, along with some of the other picks that we're going to talk about. He is fairly easy to pick and can be strong, very strong damaging support, but not the most peel. And there's other dive supports that dive better than he does, so kind of just like in this awkward spot of being pretty mediocre. A Wheelix, I'm gonna put an A plus. I think being a tempo pushing jungler is always valuable. Jumps and knockups and stuff are pretty integral to Smite, and as a result, you have something that can build early game leads, has great 1v1 as well, can seamlessly kind of build shifters and stuff like that, along with full damage builds at ease and generally just quite strong as a character. Great. When a jungler is able to actually create a lot of stuff on their own, where gods like Arachne and Alquan can't, they tend to be better for drafts because they're just more dynamic and on top of just being strong already as their own. Pretty solid pick. Baba Yaga is not great. She is okay because of all of the tankiness options in the game, but stuff like Soul Reaver really has kind of seen a fall in the meta with all of the health being reduced on characters, and as a result, just doesn't really fit right now. Baba's always been really, really kind of requiring of items like Soul Reaver to be good, and as they're not as good, her full damage builds are kind of whatever's. Her tankiness builds are very tanky, but I don't know if she really lives, or excuse me, does damage if she builds that, and just not really seeing a lot of play on her. Don't think she's great. Can work, but yeah. Bacchus is an S tier for sure. Bacchus is a really great character. I'm going to put him behind Artio just because of the simple fact that Ardio's got a flex. She's strong in two roles, where Bacchus is okay in solo, but really good in support. A lot of value though, high pressure, anti-heal. Um, Great 2v2 character, just builds a lot of pressure in that dual lane, is a much better version of like an Atlas or something where he's a dive support, but you can go Thorn's Blink or Thorn's Sunder, whatever you might go, Thorn's Sprint even, or even just like regular relics like Sprint Shell and be really effective. Just with how much dive potential you have, tankiness and all of that really through the roof, so good pick. Bakasura is in my mind, a step above some of these B tier gods, but not by much. I'll put him in B plus. He's got at least buff secure, and his cripple and stuff can be really valuable into picks like Artio and Agni and Owelix, as well as King Arthur and stuff, which we'll get to. So he's solid, I guess, for that aspect, and you can kind of like hyper farm and have a little bit more presence on the map, but ultimately, just as an auto attacker, kind of falls short. Baki Kujira is just not meant for this game right now. He was really good in a very tanky meta where defense was super high and everyone was very healthy, but at this point in the time, the whale has no purpose, and there's just never a game you should pick him. For Baron, Baron is much better in support than he is in any other role. He exists specifically as a counter pick. He's quite good into Artio, pretty good into Terra, very good into Aphrodite. I'm going to put him in average because he's kind of whatever's into most other picks. He's kind of like Ares as a counter pick, but I think he just functions worse into more characters than Ares does, at least that are good. But Baron is like fine. He's a solid support. Pick him as a counter, can do quite good. Thank you, Paige James, for the follow. I appreciate it. But yeah, pretty average. Can have some great games and counter pick situations where he's way better, but generally kind of averages out to be in the middle. Best stat we're gonna put in A plus. Cat being buffed with ability procs and all that stuff, and her 3 just being stronger. Has pretty good pressure in the jungle. Not really worth playing in solo anymore, but is quite strong in the jungle role. And you can play it and do pretty well, quite frankly. Not a bad pick at all. Bologna has unfortunately fallen off the face of the earth. She's a fight brawling character that doesn't fight and brawl very well in the solo lane, and as a result, her value is unfortunately quite poor. I'm going to put her at the top of B tier. This is a very, very steep decline, but you mix a lack of secure at the moment with just nothing really. Auto attack builds are fine on some solos like Amma, but she doesn't have like she's a fight solo laner that doesn't really win fights into these Phoenix Shield builds. Just kind of not worth playing. Falling asleep over here? I'm sorry, man. I'll try to be better. Just tier lists are they're kind of ZZZ. Kabrakan is average. Yeah, I don't know. This is like the kingpin of A to me. He's a solid support that has pressure, but is just a worse version of Bacchus. Can be really good with his walls into like Agni and RDO and stuff like that, but also is like really, really 50-50 and can be awful and can be good. Uh, just because he goes either way. Yeah, no, Chuck right now. If he hits a friend, he's just trolling. Camazotz, enough said. Cerberus. Cerberus is really strong right now. Very good pick for Tainted and stuff. So as a result, I'm going to put him in the S tier. I think Serb Soul is fantastic right now. A big thing that you're seeing right now is with items like Phoenix Shield and Shifter Shield, these are physical defense skewed items where they, are built towards physical defense and they don't have magical defense attributes or they have diminished magical defense attributes. So when these Guardian solos build items like this, they destroy warriors and warriors don't have a great response back. Cerberus is also really good in support and is just kind of like Kabrakan, or excuse me, like Bacchus, like Ardio, and just being super strong, super tanky. Check the Tainted Steel builds I run. Conduit builds are also really good. Very, very strong pick. Got buffed recently to his ult's much better. Very, very good. Kernanos uh, is like the most nothingest god of nothings. I mean, is he better than AMC? No. Is he better than Opwatch? I don't think so. Now, Kern sucks. He's really bad. This guy's just like awful. I don't know when, like, I really don't know when you would play Kurtanos. He's just like a worse. I mean, is he better than AMC? He's got a dash. I guess so. I don't know, man. This guy just sucks. Is AMC better? I guess, okay, AMC's got more pressure. I'll give AMC that because he's got more pressure. Chalk. This is tough for me, honestly. Would I put Chalk in S or A+? Plus? I'm going to put Chalk in S, and here's why I'm going to put him in S. Peak Chalk, is he better than these other solo laners? Probably not. But what Chalk has as a thing running for him that very few characters, especially in the solo lane, have, is he is never a bad pick. If you play Cerberus, you have to worry about a Wheelix, you have to worry about Dodgy. Any god with knockup immunities can pose a threat. That doesn't mean they're good into him per se, but they just pose a threat. When you play Ardio, you have to worry about stuff like Ares. Chalk is literally never bad. You can always pick Chalk. There's games obviously he's less impactful, but there's never there's no Chalk counters. They just don't exist. Gods like Circuit and stuff can do good into Chalk, but they do better into other characters. So Chalk is just always good, and I think for that dynamicism, the freedom of a draft that you could first pick Chalk, top 2 Chalk, not that you should, but just the availability of always being able to pick him into any draft makes him dynamic, and I think that's valuable for a meta, and he is still quite strong as well. Chang'e is going to be in the S tier as well. I'm debating SS, I'm not going to lie. I'm gonna do it. Chang'e with Blink and her passive being really, really strong and just increased damage by percentage amounts basically for casting abilities and stuff. Just means that you can play this character mid and just one-shot anybody. Character is very, very overtuned right now and just needs scaling back on the damage statistics and the passive. Her passive got introduced to help her clear and stuff, and as a result, unfortunately, when minions became squishier, she just became really, really overtuned. Karen is not good. He's a B plus god at best. Just cooldowns are too long as a spamming kind of dive, shifting around characters. Cooldowns just don't really match his playstyle, and he's okay, but you have to be very careful with your abilities, or else you do nothing. And he's fun, but just not great. Charybdis is going to go in the S tier. Um, Very safe pick, great damage, great shred. I'm tempted to put her in SS, and I actually think I will. Great shred, great safety, great lane pressure, just kind of does everything right and is super safe into dives, and that's just extremely valuable for someone who can output so much damage and has great lane pressure. Kernabog is going to go into A tier. He's very mid. He's better than like Achilles in my opinion, but not by much. Kind of just fits the bill. Chiron is an A plus character, pretty solid in mid and ADC ability based dive builds. Just means that yeah, you can be valuable on the backline, which is quite strong, and yeah, sees a lot of play and is quite prominent. Kronos got buffs from Fatalis and all that stuff. Definitely has made him a better character. I'm gonna put him in A plus. I think Kronos is solid in ADC with Fatalis builds. The other ring item that got added, I think Shaman's Ring is really, really OP. So magical ADCs are kind of being carried by that. Good pick. Low pressure still at times, but still very strong. Cleo is going to go into A tier. She's a solid jungler, but only really works in jungle. Has a lot of burst potential, but um, yeah, just isn't really like the best pick in the world. It's kind of nice in some of these other like Ares and stuff because you can go in the wall, but just isn't like crazy good. It's pretty average. Cthulhu is SS. He's gonna go right ahead of Shang'A. This character is just the best solo in the game. Super strong, can't interrupt the two. Just means that his lanes are super free and his team fights are super easy, and it's just that good. Should be a permaban. Kukulin is S tier. We'll put him like right here. Um, he's got great lanes, really high pressure, anti-heal, which is really impactful, obviously, and just so much tankiness with so much power and damage that just kind of domineers the meta still. Cupid has gotten buffed and he is better. We're going to put him in B+. This is growth for Cupid, who was in C tier on the last list, I believe. Yep. Cupid has abandoned the tier of C, and Baki Kujira has stepped in. So Cupid is still bad, but he's better. Happy to see that. Daji still remains very, very strong at a competitive level and then very mediocre outside of it. For that reason, I'll put her at the top of A+, but can be very good. The problem is a lot of characters that are very good have immunities, and the ones that don't are still so strong that, you know, Daji exists as a counter pick. It can still be very good, but her pressure is a bit low. Can get interrupted pretty easily. Kind of weird to rank as a character. Danzaburo is not good. He's going in the B tier. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about Danza. He's just not good. Hunters are like in this weird spot where a lot of them suck, and generally ADC is not the best role right now. And the characters that were already kind of bad when ADC was broken are even worse. So yeah, no Danza play anytime soon. Disco is quintessential average. Her passive is nice, but that's about it. She's not super safe, and her ultimate's quite strong as a cripple, but there's just way better mid options. I don't think she's terrible. I like her more than, say, a Baba Yaga because I think the passive is at least really useful to the team and stuff, but I don't really see a huge reason to play Disco. She does provide some CC and stuff. Erlang Shen, we're going to put in S tier. I thought the knockup and stuff would make him like the best god in the game. It's definitely made him very good, but not the best. Definitely like a top jungler, but still has weaknesses of just kind of getting CC'd and shut down. Is very strong though. And I think because we're seeing stuff like Ardio and Ares very good, his potential might be a little bit stifled still. And when we see some other gods fall out in prominence and stuff like that, he might rise up to SS. But he's still very, very strong and absolutely can run her along all the time in the jungle. Iset is better as a support, generally speaking, and these backline mage supports are not very good. I'm gonna put her in the top of B tier. I just don't think she really has a place in the meta, and definitely needs some buffs or just something to kind of bring her back. Fafnir is very good. We're gonna put him in S tier. He got buffed recently too, which is ridiculous. I'm gonna put him behind Cerberus. I think he's very strong in the support role only, but having your ultimate for so long and just being available for such a large period of time is really, really good. So Fenrir is not bad. The weekend tier list actually, if we peep the weekend tier list, because let's yeah, this is the weekend tier list. I'm pretty sure. What is the character we're looking at? Fenrir. I'm pretty sure that Fenrir is like pretty stinky, below average. I think that's wrong. I'm a big Fenrir believer. I think this god is quite good. I'm gonna put him at the top of A because I think A plus might be a little bit crazy. You put the colon D? No, dude, I'm sorry. Some of these guys are just bad. I hate to tell you, man. But I think Fenrir is actually quite good, and I think he's borderline A plus. People being squishier means that his brutalize really packs a punch again, and he has really good pick potential into a lot of these dashing characters. He's quite good into Serb and stuff. I think that Fenrir for the future might move up. Freya is really strong. I'm going to put her in S tier. Great character. Fatalis has reinvigorated this pick and has absolutely made her a driver in the ADC meta. Unfortunately, her pressure is low, so that's why she's not higher, but middle of S tier seems acceptable. She's a very strong pick. You get Fatalis, Shaman's Ring, Bancroft's Typhons online, and you are virtually unstoppable. Very, very good god. Ganesh is a very reactive defensive support, but his pressure is very lacking, and as a result, he struggles right now in the meta. Just because of his counterplay and protections that he provides, he can't ever be worse than A tier, but that is really the furthest I'm going to put him. He's very average right now, which is good because his character's been broken for a long time. Geb is a very reactive support similar to Ganesha, but I think his upside is actually a little bit higher. I'm going to put him in A+. Geb, you have to pick knowing that your lane is kind of going to be okay. You have to have a high pressure ADC to make it work, but just can absolutely shut down a character's dive, and the ultimate taking percentage health and stuff actually makes Geb quite strong right now, surprisingly. Definitely wasn't one that I expected, but just consistently sees great performances, although sparing ones. And if it's a good Gab game, it's a great Gab game. And yeah, A plus we'll put him. Gilgamesh has completely fallen off the picture. We're gonna put him in B plus just really quickly. There's just not really any reason to pick him in solo. Jungle, tanky junglers can work, but there's just better ones. Yeah, Gilga's kind of just like a poor man's Erlang right now. Guan Yu, I think, is very bad. We're gonna put him in. Whoopsies. We're gonna put him in B tier, right behind like Ao Kwang, I guess. This god just doesn't work, unfortunately. I'm tempted to put him C tier. He's really that bad. Like, it's at least nice that some of his items are a bit better, and he is like an ability-based character, so shifters and stuff is kind of helpful, but just no range on this character, bad lanes. Tainted is really good. No reason to ever play Guan Yu. Hachiman is an S tier. Very strong hunter, probably the best ADC outside of the game, aside from Charybdis in the ADC role. Medusa we'll talk about once we get to her, but it's very, very strong, solid pick. Always can play Hachi, always is good. Hades is mediocre. I'm gonna put him in B plus tier. He just doesn't really have a place in the meta as well, kind of like Baba Yaga. Has at least like kind of good lanes, but just is squishy, and the healing stuff can get countered. The healing items are really good, but Tainted strong, so kind of equals out more often than not. Hebo is terrible. This god is a C tier contender. In fact, I'm going to put him in C tier. I don't think there's any reason to play Hebo. This guy's really bad. Where did Weekend put him? I'm curious. Oh, he put in bad tier too. Let's go. Weekend dub. Yeah, this god sucks. I don't know why anyone would play Hebo. Heim is solid. He's very safe, but he's not really like super popular right now. I don't know if it's because the character is difficult or people just don't like him. I think a lot of it is he was a big mannequins enjoyer, and people don't really go mannequins much in ADC anymore. I think the shifter shield ADC builds don't really fit him as well. So I'm going to put him in A, but I think this is a character that has upside and could be an A plus. Hell is generally a support pick, and this type of support style is just not good. It's not tanky enough, doesn't really work. We'll just put her as a quick B tier for the same reasons as ESET. Hera got buffed, but she's still bad. She just gets killed way too easily. And her buffs, I think, were to kind of offset the lack of tankiness, or the removal of tankiness that 9.5, imposed on her. But she just doesn't really fit. There isn't really ever a good Hera game, unfortunately. And her CC and stuff is good, but she kind of does what Disco does, except a little less safely. Hercules is average. I think his lanes are okay, um, but he doesn't really like he just can get shut down very easily by a lot of characters. Healing is kind of scary for stuff like Cerberus and Kukulkan that are really prominent. And his secure is quite good, but he can be a bait pick really easily. And yeah, it's generally kind of just whatever's. Horus I think is quite good. I'm gonna put him in A plus. Very aggressive support pick. Um, some of this other supports are just a little bit better in my mind, but still very strong. And you can always kind of pick Horus and be happy. I'm gonna put Horus at the top of A plus, bordering on that S tier. Hou Yi, not a big Hou Yi fan. I don't think this is his time. He's better than like Cupid, which Cupid is not bad anymore. So I think this is B plus is a pretty okay spot to put him. His lane pressure isn't great, and you kind of need lane pressure in duo to be like effective. But he still has like opportunities to be strong with like good buff clear and whatnot. And his Mark of the Crow can be really good into picks like Cthulhu, so he's not useless. He's all right, but you won't really ever be picking Hou Yi like as a priority. Hunbats is quite strong. I'm gonna put him in A plus. Great control CC jungler. A little bit low on the pressure side, but the ultimate just makes up for everything and more. Great pick. Never can go wrong with Hunbats later in your draft. Ishtar is great pressure, but you trade out that pressure for safety. I think she's like better than like Apollo and Kronos and maybe even Chiron, but it's just like a worse version of Hachi and Charybdis. It's still very good though. Ishel is very strong. We're gonna put her in S tier above Agni. Um, Mid fights are way more prevalent than ever because of Bull Demon King and stuff like that, where mids often rotate. Can get some tankiness on this character. Her ultimate is very, very overtuned, and Ishel is quite strong because of it. Izanami's great lane pressure, but bad everything else, and as a result, she's just a very simple and quick B plus to me. I'll put her kind of like in that Anubis category of she's good pressure, but kind of bad at everything else. Giannis is actually quite strong right now. Giannis, with his penetration and his passive, just has the ability to actually kill people pretty easily. I'm gonna put Ares up, by the way. I think Ares is too low. We'll put Ares like right here. Giannis is quite good. Yeah, pretty good damage. Penetration in his kit now just means you can really build in towards that power and one-shot people. It's very strong, very evasive. Good pick. Jingwei is the quintessential safe ADC, so she can never be bad. We'll just put her solidly as A tier. Isn't really her meta, but the safety is undeniable, and that can be really helpful. Jormungandr. By the way, if you guys have any questions about stuff, let me know, and I got you. Jormungandr, or like if you want like a further clarification on something, Jormungandr is kind of fallen out of favor. I think he's decent into a lot of these Guardian solos, so I don't think he sucks. But he's like pretty average to me. I think he's underplayed because him being an A tier, I don't see him at all. Like he gets as much play as some of these B tier characters, but I do think he's okay and definitely worth playing still. Kali is also an A tier character, very average. Definitely better with some of the changes to the meta. Yet to kind of see how good Fatalis is on her, just because there's no power, which kind of hurts her. But you could go ability based. What do you think Izanami is bad at? I feel like she wrecks late game. Really, the biggest problem is the safety. So a lot of junglers like kind of just track her and kill her. And what you see in a lot of these better ADC picks is they have a lot of self peel. So Freya's got the whoop and the ultimate where she's immune from damage. Hachiman has just like a very easy, safe get out of jail card ultimate. Crib just has like one of the best escapes in the game with her dash. Ishtar's a little bit. Ishtar to me is just a much better Izanami. Her ultimate's at least CC immune. Her dash is instant. And so even though like Izanami has pressure, that safety aspect is like a decent bit worse, and that really hurts her. Um, so yeah. Um, Great question though. But yeah, Jormungandr I think is fairly average. Um, Izanami's also again like kind of one of those stompy characters. So yeah, if you're like as you mentioned like lower elo a little bit, she'll probably feel more oppressive. But as junglers kind of start to improve, she just really kind of takes a nosedive. Great question though. So Khepri is kind of weird. Defensive supports aren't really the style right now. You kind of want frontline, but his value as the true counter pick, kind of like anti-dive support, is very similar to Ganesha. He's got better pressure than Ganesha. I'm gonna put him in A plus because again, I don't think Khepri can ever be bad. What's up, Bother? Nice to see you, man. We're recording a YouTube video for tier list stuff, but if you want to ever chime in, have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask. Nice to see you here. Um, and guys, by the way, if you do ever want to check out my stream, it is just Snatty with two Y's. I'll normally never record videos and like stream them, but this is just a rare occasion because I figured this could be a little helpful and fun. King Arthur is very strong in a vacuum, but counter picks kill this character from support, mid, ADC, and jungle, um, and sometimes solo even. Very good lanes, but Ares is so good, Ardio is so good. It's tough to justify this character as being super strong. I think he's an A plus pick. I know I put him, I didn't mention him, but I mentioned Amma in the list. I do think he's probably a little bit better than Amma, but I'm a little biased, obviously. But I'll put Arthur in A plus. Kukul Khan is completely out of the meta, sadly. Book of Thoth is just not very good, and when Book of Thoth isn't good, Kukul Khan struggles really, really hard. At least he has Sakura as a mage, so he's better than these other B tier gods, but yeah, it kind of falls out of the window. Kumbhakarna is going to be joining our good friend Hibo and Baki Kujira in the C tier as still the consensus worst god in the game. Not really much to say about him. Kuzenbo, quite strong, A plus pick. Great dive character. A worse Bacchus, but still very good. Healing makes this character struggle a lot, so if you want to go Terra in the backline or something like that, you can absolutely destroy this pick, as well as safe backliners with nice dashes, immunity, stuff like that. Hachi, Curvus can do quite well into it. So he's very strong as a disruptor, but he's not insanely strong or anything. He's very good though. Kind of like, in my opinion, a slightly worse Horus because I think Horus is better as an initiator and a little bit more proactive. Lancelot is going to fall down from SS to S tier. Still very, very good, but I think the amount of counterplay like available in the game on some of these picks that are better, like Cerberus, Fafnir, that's been improved, Ardio as well as just kind of a little bit of like favoring falling apart. The shield's not as tanky on the horse with these new, squishiness changes, so still very good, but just has taken a little bit of a step back. Loki is not great right now, but he's okay. I think he's like a solid A tier, kind of around Cleo. Kind of just like these two late game hyper carry gods that are ability based, so they're much, much better than like the Bakasuras of the world, but kind of forgettable. I think Mammon and Brigitte is very, very strong in mid and jungle right now. She's like the only magical jungler that I really, really love. We're vibing, love to hear it. Um, and I'm a big fan of this pick. I'm very high on this character. I think a lot of people don't like her and think she's pretty mediocre, but Mammon to me has like a kind of a skill curve in terms of just like positioning and whatnot. But when played correctly, this character is extremely oppressive and just absolutely miserable. It's a nightmare matchup, or it's a matchup nightmare, excuse me, for junglers to deal with, where oftentimes the comm is just, I can't win this 1v1. And so then you have to force groupings, and then she can split push, and it's just an absolute disaster against good Moment players. This character is nearly unbeatable in some games. So, yeah. Marticarus is a good ability-based hunter. His immunity, availability, and stuff is strong. I don't think he's quite S tier, but he's at the top of A+, really solid pick in the mid lane. Definitely can win a lot with him. Mages generally I like a little bit more in mid overall, but still is very solid. Maui is pretty forgettable. We got some buffs and stuff which are nice, but kind of in the A tier, kind of just like a pretty mediocre, excuse me, support. But I don't think is like, yeah, I don't think he's much more than that. Again, mediocre is A. I guess mediocre is a little disingenuous, but he's just average. I like him better than Karen and stuff, but not too much more. Medusa is an SS tier character. We have 5 gods in SS. I'm not sure we'll have any more. We might have one more. We'll see though. But Medusa's really, really strong still. The nerfs that she took are... What's up, Claire? How are you? We are recording a video, so if you have any questions and stuff for the tier list and stuff, let me know. But yeah, so Medusa is kind of still like the best hunter in the game. This is more of a mid lane pick than an ADC lane pick. I think Medusa is worse in duo than she is in mid, but the pressure she applies anti-heal on the spit, just so much burst and shred from a character that really has no business being as good as she is. Uh, the lack of safety issue that people say Medusa may have is just so overblown by the fact that she's able to just insta-kill people, and it kind of doesn't matter. Mercury is a crit god, and crit gods are okay right now because they're seeing more penetration builds. But I don't in dual lane, so like if you can build crit Merc and your ADC probably won't be going crit. They still can, but just not as good. I think Merc is like pretty average. I don't think he's great, but I don't think he's bad. I'm actually really curious to see. I just have this weekend list open. I'm curious to see where he puts Merc. I can't find him. Tough. It's somewhere here. Is it in the bad or below average? Okay, so it's definitely one of these two. I don't know. Either way, he's got him an average or good. Cool. Yeah, I think Merc's like okay. He's fine, but not much better than fine. Merlin is another fine god. Kind of does like not too much because he's sort of like Cuckoo, but he at least has like a lot more burn and stuff. And he hasn't been good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Merlin is like solid. He's kind of like a very safe. He's kind of like a Tiamat-esque mage that's like always okay, but there's just better options. So, whatever's. Morgan Le Fay, another character, very good self peel, doesn't have great shred on objectives or secure, but very good self peel is kind of used if there's a lot of dive on their draft, and you just want to kind of have a mage that can dive with you slash peel herself. And for that is she's pretty average. Yeah. Mulan got a lot of nerfs. I think she's still quite strong, but isn't what she used to be. A plus tier for her. She isn't able to punish soul laners as easily with Phoenix Shield and Shifter Shield and stuff, so that added sustain means that Mulan's bullying is just not as valuable. And then her losing some damage on her 2 and stuff also makes her bullying not as valuable. These late game kind of fights and stuff with her being able to get popped, potentially easier, also kind of hurts her. And she's definitely still very good, but is not like a consensus like top 3 solo god anymore. Naja is really solid. I'm gonna put him in A plus tier. There's a lot of guys in A plus tier, but these guys are very good. I think the A tier is kind of like a lot more guys moved up to being stronger, um, and it kind of makes some of these average characters look a little more deflated, I guess, which is a bit of a shame. Neath is really only existing as a hunter mid. And hunter mids, like I mentioned, aren't as popular right now, but they're still okay. And I think Neath and Morticrus, along with Medusa, of course, are really the ones you play in mid. And she is quite okay. Ultimate's still very valuable, and you can kind of hang your hat on that to make her at least decent. Right now, Nemesis, I don't think has a place in the meta, but stone cutting and stuff gives her some opportunity for being better. Great 1v1s on this character, so even though she doesn't have a great place in the meta, I still think she's like A tier. Like, I like her much more than these other auto attackers, and you can build her ability based with like protector and stuff to be semi-tanky and actually be somewhat effective with it. I think she's very average right now. Nike is not good. Anti-shielding is extremely easy to build in this game. Her lanes are not very good. And yeah, she's better than like some of these B tier characters because she at least has some opportunity to be strong. The Rend with the disarm and her 2 having the blocking autos is really nice into some of these higher end picks and just ADCs in general. But just doesn't really have a great grasp for like controlling solo at all right now. Nox got buffed. I'm gonna show Nox some love. She's an A tier. She's average. Her mid is better. Her support is better than it used to be. It's still not great, but a lot of CC burn, and just the extra damage means that Nox mid specifically actually has a niche but valuable placement. To me, she kind of runs a lot like Baron, where maybe not very popular, definitely less popular than some gods who are lower than her. But when she's picked and you pick her late, she can be very, very strong. So Solid god, not great, but very average to me. Nuwa, this god is insane. Nuwa's at the top of S. I'm bordering SS tier. When you're able to get so much value off of literally pressing an ability on 5 people that you can't miss, the character can never be bad. Her lanes are pretty strong in mid. She's very safe, and the clay minions shred prots and are so freaking powerful nowadays that this god is absurd. Um, Nut is very forgettable, and she's like a B tier character to me. I don't know why you would play this god. Her pressure's good, so maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe she's like Izanami tier. Yeah, she's probably like Izanami tier. I think she's around here. She's B plus. Just no reason to play these gods, unfortunately. Again, the thing that's tough is like, yeah, these are B plus characters, but like hunters are again are kind of weak right now. So there's very few hunters that I consider like very good, but not really is not one of them. Odin is a great team fight character. His laning phase is dodgy, and his carry potential is also dodgy. Now he's a team fight character, but I think these supportive solos are like Guan Yu and Horus and stuff, and Odin kind of falls into that tier. And that stuff's just not great right now. It's okay. I don't think Odin's like bad, but I just think he's like average. I don't think he's much more than that. Oleron is a character that I thought would be much, much better than he is. But out of all the magical ADCs, he seems like the one who was impacted actually the least. I'm going to put him in B plus tier. His pressure is very good, but I just don't think he really uses Fatalis and stuff all too well. And as a result, isn't seeing a lot of play. Also, just the lack of safety he has really does hurt him. I guess he can get kited around by these Fatalis ADCs as well. I don't know. I just like I want to say Oleron's better than this, but I just don't see him at all. So I really like I can't swear by a character being very good if I see literally zero play of the pick. So I just I don't know. To me, it's just like kind of an indication he's not too great. Osiris is going to go at the I'm actually struggling with Osiris in terms of where to place him. I'm gonna put him at the top of A plus. I think losing the cloak builds and stuff like that really hurt this character. Phoenix Shield and stuff is still very strong, but he's just not what he used to be. He's very strong still in the tankiness aspect, but the cloak build being gone just means you run the same build with shifters and Phoenix, and it's just worse. You can still run it; it's still good. I think he's a little bit better than Mulan overall because his late game's better, but I don't know. Kind of sad. F for Osiris. He's not what he used to be, but he's still good. Um, Pele is forgettable, but she's got pressure, I guess. That's pretty good. We'll put her in A tier somewhere. Persephone stinks. Put her in B tier. There's a lot of crap characters in my mind. Jeez. But yeah, I mean, I look at all these guys and I'm like, wow, I don't want any of these ever. So it is what it is. Poseidon's good. Poseidon with the rings and stuff is really strong. Can be quite good in the jungle, quite good in mid. That flexibility, in my mind, elevates him, along with just having a lot of movement speed and stuff makes him really difficult to shut down. Doomorb is quite strong. Karen's Quinn is quite strong. All items that Poseidon really likes. On top of obviously these rings and stuff that give a lot of flat pen. Really good for Pos. Pos is a solid pick right now in the jungle. Definitely better in jungle than in mid right now, but still is decent in the role too. Ra is, in my mind, still quite good. I don't think he's S tier. I think he's A plus though. Has good secure, which is very, very valuable. Strong, solid mid pick. Slow immunity is very good. Um, Healing just means that he's able to do a lot of things. The one thing Ra kind of struggles with is poke potential, where he needs generally set up and he can't do blind poke where Agni and stuff can kind of create poke like independently and on their own. And he's easier to dive than someone like an Ishel who doesn't really create poke on her own as well late game. But yeah, just like a solid pick, really good. Still definitely worth playing. And Origin I think is going to go at the top of A tier. It definitely has poke and stuff that Ra doesn't have per se, but lacks in safety. And he's playable in solo though, and the solo builds are fun. He's not a bad pick. If you want, if you guys saw my Origin solo vid, make sure to comment below on what you thought about it. But this god is playable in two roles, which is nice. But he's good. Like average is A tier is average. Like you can play him. Um, if I were to like put these in like a good tier, I'd put like this is good, very good, great, the best. You know what I mean? So yeah, still solid. Rama's a dive hunter, so dive hunters, what I mean by dive hunter, just by like his ultimate and stuff, gives a lot of value. I think hunters are kind of weak right now, as I mentioned. So the fact that he's able to uh, assist his team on a dive is pretty unique and valuable. And for that, I'll put him in the A tier. I don't think he's amazing, but I think he's solid. Ratatasker to me is pretty average. I think he's at the top of average. Um, I just like a lot of these junglers a lot more than him. He does have a global, which is nice, but it does kind of like feel a little bit awkward. Um, just playing this character right now, I feel like his CC is really his stun, which is good but limited, and his early game pressure is strong. But I think he can just I don't know like he's good, but I don't think he's actually great. I think he's a little overrated. Not a huge fan of him right now. If you like Rat, keep playing him, but I don't know. Not too appealing to me. Ravin, we are going to put in the A tier as well. Good dive character, pretty solid to everything, kind of similar to Chaka in that aspect. But the thing is that in jungle, you just have like characters that just dive so like Chalk, I think, is strong in solo because he's always good, but you have so many junglers that are always good that Raven kind of like, I think, loses some value by default. He's still solid though. Scylla is kind of crap, but also kind of good. She's like weird to rank. I'll put her in A tier. Like her pressure sucks, but her secure is amazing. And her damage or like her protection shred on her too is also really good. She's like a combination of just like having great parts about her and awful parts about her. But I think overall she ends up being like a much better Kukulkan and probably better than like Disco and like a little worse than maybe Raijin. So I'll put her like an A tier. Serket I think is another average god. The tanky builds in jungle make her playable, but I think without them, she's not very strong. Being able to go some crit builds just means you have some flexibility too. I think she's solid at times, as great as a counter pick character, but it doesn't really create too many opportunities on her own as maybe she would in the past, just for like being picked. Even when it's like a good Serket game, I don't think she's like necessarily the go-to god, which is kind of weird. She's pretty average to me. Set got some buffs, I believe, and I don't actually see a lot of this god. I think he's okay though. Like he definitely to me doesn't strike as a bad character. I think he's very average. Shiva is another to me average god. He's got a very obnoxious laning phase, but his ultimate is horrible. And the knockups and stuff, yeah, they're strong and they can be effective, but he just doesn't to me like he's kind of like the opposite of Odin. Very strong laning phase, but kind of awkward slash bad team fight. I think I like him a little more than Achilles because his presence can be a bit better, like earlier and quicker, but kind of just like not really a big reason to play Shiva. Scotty, another character in the A tier, very okay. The tank builds can kind of work. I think you need a little bit more damage than the tank build I went. But Scotty mid is quite powerful. Is a worse version of like a Martigrus and Medusa and stuff, obviously. And he kind of just nets herself in that kind of weird neath area of like a average mid lane hunter. Sobek, because of how aggressive and stuff he can be, is going to be in the S tier. Put him behind Fafnir, actually ahead of Fafnir. Uh, Anytime Shivo might be the worst ult in the game, hard agree. It's awful. It just stinks. There's just really nothing like it. Sobek is really good. This is kind of the god you play if you don't play support because he's just so easy. And while managing to be easy is simultaneously really strong, I think does fall a little bit behind than of Bacchus in terms of just creating an opportunity while being safe. Like a Bacchus flop in is generally much safer than a Sobek pluck in, but you could argue that Sobek pluck reward is higher. Nonetheless, Bacchus having instant damage on his ultimate, Sobek having a wind up just means that Bacchus is a better version of Sobek, but Sobek is still very good. Soul is better because of the buffs to like the magical ADCs with rings and stuff, but still pretty forgettable. Definitely a step below Freya and Kronos for sure. Generally because you kind of feel like she just doesn't really do damage, which is weird. But as a frontliner, I see Soul and I'm like, there's just not that much threat. But still, the items do help her, and her safety is like not to be ignored. It's definitely valuable. In a way, she's kind of like a magical Jingwei, I feel like. Um, Sun Wukong is kind of fallen off the face of the earth, but he's still good. I'm gonna put him in A plus, like right here. He's always safe. He's always strong. He's kind of like the as we're using the Jingwei example, kind of the warrior Jingwei. Really annoying to play into, but kind of just like doesn't create as much engage initiation prowess as some of these top soul laners. So he's very safe and stuff, but I don't know. Like Wukong's not. It's weird because he's still a good character, but I'm so used to him being like the best god ever that him being kind of mediocre is just like awkward. And he's not mediocre, but it feels like he's mediocre because he's not just like clearly like one of the best gods, but he's still very good. So I don't want to like overreact and put him in A tier because I think that's just criminal. Surtur is a great lane bully, but can be very, very problematic late game. Um, really bad into stuns, and a lot of good gods have stuns, and just a lot of gods in general have stuns. High CC destroys this god, can still be very strong even late game in spite of that, but just can become really kind of a cone late game, and being a lost con on a character late game is kind of sketchy, and yeah, he's average because his early and mid game is just so powerful though. Susano is to me pretty average as well. Um, His engage and stuff is always good. His ultimate is strong. No CC immune ult though, paired with a kind of lackluster early game, to me seems kind of awkward. Why is B plus above A? It's not. Are you baiting me? It's not. I think I'm being baited. It was on my old list. Was it on my old list? I think that was a bug. I didn't mean for that to happen. You're good. No, on my old list it was like, you're fine, don't worry. Um, what's up, Jaggy? Nice to see you. Sylvanas. Sylvanas is just like, he's a kind of defensive support that has pressure, that can play aggressive, but he's so bad into like Bacchus and Sobek and Serb and Artio and stuff that like, he's really not great right now, and it's kind of a shame. I feel like he should be good. Kind of looks like that. Oh, you read it backwards? Oh, it's all good. Don't worry about it. How are you guys doing? Yeah, so Terra is actually, I'm gonna put her in S tier. I don't think she's quite SS anymore. Really strong, but like with how strong anti-heal is in the game, Terra is very valuable in spite of that, but it does kind of knock her down a little bit. These characters at the top, some of them have great sustain, like Cthulhu and Camazotz and Chang'e, but they also provide a lot extra, and Terra does too. But the anti-heal like aspects being very prominent in the game right now do kind of hurt her a bit. Still very strong though. But I think just a little bit worse than Bacchus and at times Artio. And also, like, I'm also putting Artio so high because she's so good in two roles, where Terra's only really good in one. Thanatos is, I think he got nerfed again recently. And this guy's like not, he wasn't great. He's still A tier, like I like him more than Gilgamesh and stuff, but I'm really not too sure. Serket should be an S unless this is a ranked only list. No, this is a competitive kind of ranked combined. I don't think Serket's that good to be honest. I don't know. I'm a big Serket hater. I know like the Crater Cup thing had like this huge Serket craze, but a lot of that to me is just like people forcing mom and picks and stuff like that, which doesn't make sense. I have mom and high on this list, but like if someone's consistently counterpicking, you don't have to force it. So in my opinion, like I think she's fine, but I don't think she's better than fine. Like, I know tanky Serket and stuff is like valuable, um, but when like a lot of your junglers that are really strong, like Lancelot and Kama, and where was the other one that I'm missing? Thor, that I'm gonna get to soon, are generally untargetable for a lot of their engage and stuff like that. It's kind of like, well, what's really the point? When a lot of Serket's value is like anti jungle. Now you can play dive and stuff, but it's just like I tend to find Serket usually is best as a flanking character and hunting the other jungler and stuff. And Yeah, her anti-heal stuff is valuable, but I don't know. She to me she just seems like a step below. Is this a ranked or comp list? This is more of a comp list than a rank list. But I do have to consider it sometimes. Like some things, for example, like Oleron, I feel like he actually should be pretty good, but I just don't see this god. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, what do I say about it? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just weird. Geb to me is like picked very infrequently, but when he's picked, he's usually great, and because of that, I think he's A plus. You know what I mean? It's a pressure issue, but if you have like a hunter that gets him through, and you're into a lower pressure support as well, uh, can be good. Kepri never seen him in ranked, but competitively he's always good. So you know, like at times, of course, right? But yeah, the Morrigan is, I don't know. This is a weird god to me. Like competitively, I think she's always decent. Ranked wise, not really. Thank you so much, Storm, for the sub. I really appreciate it. We hate Snatty. Damn it, dude. Sorry to hear it. Nice to see you, man. Thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. Morrigan to me is like, I think she's just like an A tier. I don't know. Like I feel like when the Mori is the best is obviously when she has great transforms and stuff. I don't love the idea of flanking mages when you have stuff like Nuwa that are just like, they just hit people, and like Agni's really good into the Morrigan. A lot of these supports can kind of just hunt her and chase her, but I think because she always has good ultimate value, especially how strong like Cthulhu is, Daji's obviously always good. Camazot's Morgan's a fantastic combo. Like because she's able to transform into some of these gods that are like so powerful with very impactful ultimates. Because not every god, like for example, Charybdis would not be a great Mori transform. You know what I mean? Um, she and Nuwa and stuff, for example, like she's at least okay because of that always. Thor is weird. Is Thor an SS god competitively? Yes. So I'm gonna put him in SS. Um, good grind picks for each roles, like keeping my skill curves. I could totally do a video for that on like 3 gods you should play to learn that are easy. I could totally do a video for that. It's kind of similar to the top 5 gods video, but I could do something of that nature and sometime soon. I'll keep it in mind. Thank you for the suggestion. Honestly, I could figure something out with that. Thoth is risky. Um, secure is great. Safety is not. I don't know. Thoth is weird. I don't think he's S tier anymore. I think he's A plus. I like him more than Ra, probably, like by a little bit. But like to me, these two characters are always like neck and neck. They provide different things, but I don't know. In my last tier list, I had them neck and neck in S tier. I think they've both taken a step back, but is Thoth S tier? I don't know. I'm honestly really torn on this. Part of me says yes. I think because this god's poke is so valuable, despite the lack of safety, I'm going to put him in S tier. Kind of on the lower side, but I will put him in S. Draft flexibility can be a little weird with this character. He's like the best third pick of all time, though, in like Smite competitive history. This is like the third pick god. How is Mom and Ness the character's broken? That's how. She's so overpowered. It just almost everybody sucks with her, which doesn't make sense because she's not hard. That god is insane. You don't think Thoth is S? Really? I don't know. I'm really torn between S and A plus. I'm kind I don't know. I like the poke aspect is so good, but then I'm also like Nua's just like able to put so much poke as well and safer with the CC and ult. I love Agni. I might be higher on Agni than most people, but I love that god. I think he's so safe. Thoth does get Ian up right now, and he is easy to die. I mean, oh, it's tough. Okay, here's how I'm gonna look at it. If I look at the SS tier and I look at the S tier, do these guys kill Thoth? Yes. Easily. Yeah, no. He might be A plus. You guys might be right. That makes sense. Yeah, that might make sense. Is he better than Ra? I'll put them right next to each other. Thank you, Made of Gold, for the follow. I appreciate it. Thoth is a position god, for sure. But even then, he's not that easy to push out of position if you have like if you're like a great player and stuff. But like, man, I mean, the problem is like okay, Agni and Thoth in a lot of ways have a very similar composition, being CC immune or non-CC immune ult characters that have dashes that are somewhat similar in range. But Agni's is instant, where Thoth you have to put out the glyph and stuff, which isn't usually a huge issue, but can sometimes kind of like make your dash kind of like awkward to use. And then more importantly, like Agni's got knockup immunity and a stun. Thoth doesn't have that. And that self peel aspect, I put on her an A. On her doesn't see nearly as much play anymore, unfortunately. On her's right here. Um, but yeah, I think Agni's solid. Thank you, Galaxy, as well, for the follow. I appreciate it. What's up, all you guys hopping in? Ishtar's a much better pressure pick right now. On her's kind of like just not existent, unfortunately. I don't think on her's very good. He was very good for a long time. I think his time's over. Just don't really see him performing well, to be honest. And he just seems like a lunch dive pick. And I know Ishtar is too, in a lot of ways, but Ishtar at least has like, in my opinion, a little bit more in the tank in terms of I don't want to say safety, because Honor's got the jump and stuff, but I just think in terms of like burst, honestly. Tiamat is. I'm a huge Tiamat lover, I have to say. I love this god. Honestly, then I think we agree to disagree. I don't know. I think Ishtar's pressure and stuff like just makes her super valuable. And like, and when Hachi and Cryptus are like off the table, I know Freya's not really a great pressure pick, but her value is just crazy. But I think when those are off the table, Ishtar's like probably your next best pick, honestly. I'm really not an on her fan anymore. Maybe it's just like, maybe it's just because I've been playing with ADCs who like don't love it as much anymore. But I don't know. I'm just not a huge on her believer anymore. Tiamat is weird. I'm I'm the biggest Tiamat apologist of all time. I swear by this god being absolutely broken to this day. Her safety is incredible. Tablet builds are so much fun. But is she really that good? I think she's A plus. You think he's higher? I was kind of torn on him, but my mindset's like, I don't think ADC's in a good place right now as is. And like, I kind of want my ADC to be CC immune if I'm gonna have it. You know what I mean? Also, I did watch you jump into Cthulhu and get spitty spat on, so I don't know. Just saying. I did see that. Don't think I didn't see it, because I was watching. I think Tiamat's an A plus. I'm kind of a Tiamat fan. Is she deservedly this high? I think so. Her early game's kind of slow, but like I don't know. I feel like you get Tiamat to 35 minutes. Oh, that's a long time. 30 minutes in the game, you win usually. So I'm a Tiamat fan. Tsukiyomi's really good. He's an A plus pick. I don't think he's quite an S tier pick, just because like, well, maybe he is an S tier pick. What do we think, guys? Tsukiyomi A plus or S? He's definitely not A. I'm actually torn on this one. I really don't know. Like, is Tsukiyomi that much better than Hunbats? Maybe. I mean, they're very different. Um, I love Suku too. I think he's good. Too many things have to go right for Suki to be an S. His ult definitely can screw with him. No, and that's a great point by him. Yeah, I don't think he's an S tier. He's good though. Like Suki's definitely not a bad pick. Do I like him more than Hunbats? Mm, I don't think so. I'm gonna put him in A plus. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like if Suki gets Aegis is obviously good into him, but if Suki gets like initiated on first, He's very awkward, and then you have to play like very defensive sometimes to avoid that, and then you kind of miss out on your engage opportunity. I still think he's very good because, um, what did I say about Nem? She's average to me. I don't know. I like I don't really see when you would pick Nem over some of these other picks. I think her build path is good. I agree, and that's why I put her in A. And she's probably better than this. This is a little too low. I like her more than Kali and Thana. I'm gonna move Thana up as well, though. I like Thana more than some of these gods. I'll put Thana like right here. I'm gonna put Nem a little bit higher as well. But like, I don't know. I just Nem to me is kind of like awkward. But yeah, with Suki, he's good. I definitely think he's a solid pick. I think a jungler having poke is really good, not only for like Phoenix sieges and stuff, but just 3-1-1 splits, 4-1 splits, 3-2 splits. Gives Tsukiyomi a lot of tools on sieges and stuff, which you have to get to sieges to make him effective. Not to make him effective, but you have to get sieges to get to sieges, excuse me, for that part of him to be effective. But yeah, he can definitely be like forced out, but I do like him. And his knockup immunity is like very, very powerful. It makes 1v1ing this character pretty nightmarish as a jungler, which the idea is like you don't look for the 1v1, but sometimes you're just kind of forced to when people are splitting lanes and stuff like that. Even in Fire Giant, just to have a jungler in a solo hovering or jungle mid hovering, Suki can just cause a lot of problems with split pushing and stuff like that that maybe other junglers like Hunbats don't. So Hunbats again, very different pick, provides different things to the game. Much better team fight god, but Tsukiyomi I think with his splits and stuff can be really scary. Tier is not good right now. I'm sorry to say it. I don't think I remember the last time I've played tier. I'm gonna put him in just B plus and just move on with it. I really don't know. I mean, okay, is tier's kind of like Scotty though to me, where he's like good once in a blue moon, but he's like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I think about tier. I mean, in like gut feeling, I want to say B plus, but maybe he's an A tier god. Let me look at the A tier soul laners: Hercules, Shiva, Odin, Yorm, Achilles. Uh, I'm gonna put Tyranny. I think he belongs in that. Not really better than those guys. I like him more than Achilles. Thank you, Tearing Dreams, so much for the prime. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. By the way, for emotes, let me know what you guys would like to see because I'm gonna have to work on that. Um, thank you, Tearing. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know. Tier's kind of weird to me. Zap thinks Scotty's not great. Scotty's a real split opinion. Weaken values the kill potential, and I'm kind of on the weaken side on that. She's definitely not great, but I don't think she's an ADC. I think she's a mid laner. So if Zap's like Scotty's not great, it's probably because he's playing an AD, well obviously he's playing an ADC. And I don't think she's great in ADC. I think she's a mid laner, and you play her for the burst, kind of like you play Marty mid for the burst, and Marty ADC is kind of mediocre. Me with the cat ears? What are you guys talking about? Oh, for an emote? Oh lord, why? All right. I mean, you guys are weird. Dear God. Uller. Jaggy, are you here? Can you give us an Uller ranking? That's just like what I would imagine. You know what I mean? It could be a different reason. Uller, though, being serious, he's a flex character, which is nice. I mean, I think he's average. Like his burst is good. I think when the patch came out that like, people are squishier, everybody like jumped on the Uller train and was like, "Yo, he's crazy good. This is like such an OP character." But he really isn't. He's all right though. I just say showcase your personality. Yeah. No, I mean I got like you have to be weird to like my streams and YouTube anyways, right? So I'm okay with having some weird emotes. As long as they like look good, I don't really care. I don't take myself too seriously either, so I don't mind. If you guys really want Catboy ears with me, like I don't know, is what it is. I'll do it, I guess. I don't care. Shit, you guys are the ones subbing. If you want that emote, you want that emote. Is what it is. Vamana is horrible. Don't play this god ever. He is really bad. Is Vamana C tier? Ooh, that is a great question. Okay, do I like... Okay, I put Bologna in B because I was like, Bologna sucks. Do I like Bologna more than Vamana? I do. I do. Is Vamana our fourth C tier god? I really don't like this pick right now. Oh, I'm really torn on this. I really don't like Vamana right now. You've seen Vamana players die to ADCs in his ult? Yeah, and ADCs stink right now. That's a great point. I don't know. I mean, okay, I'm gonna put him in C tier, but, but, there is a chance that there's like a Vamana stone cutting jungle build that's low key crazy. He still probably sucks, and that would move him up to B tier. Yeah, Vamana's awful. Well, Vulcan had a letdown. This god has disappeared off the face of the earth, and it makes me sad because I never see him played, and the times I do see him played, I guess it's just because he's easy to dive. But I love like the movement speed aspect. To me, like he's got a lot of what Raw has that I like Raw about. So I kind of like this god, and it hurts to not put him in A plus. I'm gonna put him in A tier because I think he's okay. I want to put him in A plus, but I just don't think I can. Um, and honestly, I'm thinking of moving Thoth a little bit lower, and I'm going to right here. Shibalanke, dude, I don't know. Like this, like I know I'm supposed to know as like the YouTuber streamer, but I don't. Who the hell plays this god? Like actually, he's got a range increase on his ult, which is pretty cool, and attack speed increase too. Like that is valuable. His ult's not bad. He's got a CC immune dash. His laning phase is kind of weird. You kind of have to go Death's Toll, but Death's Toll isn't bad. Uh, I mean, honestly, you look at his kit and you look at his tools, I feel like he's not a bad character. But, like, there's no way I'm taking on her, or excuse me, Shibalanke over on her. It's just not happening. I'm gonna put him in A tier. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's better than these other hunters, though. Put him, like, right there. Jing Chen. Yeah, slap him in A and move on. I got you, bro. That's the move. Jing Chen. Uh, like, why? As we're getting to the end of this list, I'm being a little more candid about it. Jing Chen to me is a big why. Like, what's the point of playing this god right now? I genuinely don't know. There's better Guardian solos, there's better supports. I mean, I guess he's not bad though. It's just like, why? You know what I mean? Yeah, we're gonna put him in A tier at the bottom of it. Because, like, the thing is like, I think Sylvanas actually should be okay, but he kind of just, like, can get picked so easily right now. I think Karen is just kind of like a paid actor god that just does nothing. I think Athena's good, but everybody who plays support tells me this god sucks. And I'm just like, okay, I'll take your word for it. Jing kind of does stuff. He's like less proactive than like a Maui or a Cabrakan, but he's way safer. And I kind of value that. I value safety. I think safety is important. It's kind of like Jingwei and like, I keep going back to Jingwei, but like Jingwei and Heim and stuff. Like even if the god's not very popular, like the safety can't be bad. Yamoja got buffed. Um, oh, I need help for this. I don't know about Yamoja. These last few gods, I'm struggling. Yamoja competitively has always been like an SS tier god, but she really fell off the rails on the second half of season 10 due to aggressive supports becoming meta. Um, and then she fell off the moon completely going into season 11. Finally got a buff. This character is awful in ranked because nobody knows how to play her. She's very difficult to play at a high level. I don't know if Happin's still here, but he'd be able to say much better on this character for me. than me, excuse me. Um, you think Yemo's OP? I mean, okay. Anti-heal is prevalent right now in Smite. That doesn't mean that healing gods are bad though, because we've established like Terra's freaking crazy good. I'm gonna put her in A plus. I think that's the responsible move. I'm gonna put her in A plus. I think ranked wise, she's like a C tier god, literally, or a B tier god. Competitively, she still might be S tier, but it's so hard to tell. It is so hard to tell. And I agree with you, Delvin. Like the emoji aspects that she brings are super strong, but she does kind of get body bagged by a lot of these supports. Harder than even a Geb or a Kepri does. And that is problematic. Still, her competitive value at the highest level is so strong that like I have to take that into account. But I think A plus is a responsible spot, and on the lower end of A plus is responsible. I do like that. I think that I'm happy with that. Ymir is really nice into like Lance. The wall is cool too. He's like a Baron to me, where he's kind of weird, but he's a great counter pick god. He's more pressure than Baron, but I think he's worse more often than Baron is. I think I like them kind of together. Yemoja, or excuse me, not Yemoja. Hey, Kyle, good morning. How are you? Waking up early over there, I see. Um, Yu Huang. Yu Huang's really good. Yu Huang's an S tier god. I mean, easy. This guy's crazy. Probably the best mage in the game right now. That's like a mid laner, besides Nuwa, in my opinion. Yu Huang's really good. I'm super high on Nuwa, so if people are like Nuwa's ridiculously high, sorry, I think this guy's freaking crazy. Um, Zeus is. I think Zeus is more fun in Smite 1 than Smite 2, I have to say. I'm very sad with the Zeus changes in Smite 2. I don't like them. Doesn't deny the fact that this guy's not great. Shifter shield and stuff, I think, gives him a spot to be relevant. And I think he's got some value as, like, you dive Zeus, but he's, like, able to actually survive fairly often because of shifters and stuff. And his scaling's pretty good. He's actually like I think underrated in how safe he is. He's not safe, but I think people have like this perception that Zeus is like op watch, which is just not true. I think he's okay. Zhang Kui is going to be an A plus. I like this god. I think he's got value in ADC. He's got value in mid. Great initiation character. When backliners have trouble sometimes with being unsafe, and Zhang, with how tanky he is because of his passive, has the ability to kind of circumvent those issues. Um, So as a result, yeah, I'm putting Zhang in the A plus spot. So for the YouTube folks, I'm streaming on Twitch obviously this whole thing, and that's why that was happening. But this is the end of the tier list. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is going to be coming out, assuming all things go well, Wednesday at 2 p.m. ish. So thank you for watching. I'm going to figure out how to slice this from the Twitch VOD. Thank you everybody from the YouTube side of things. Let me know comments, criticisms, concerns, all of those things. Does this list suck? Is it great? Is it awful? Please let me know. Very curious to hear what you guys think. But I think this is a pretty good feel for the game. I don't want to keep this video going on for so long. So thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.